name is Sarah Campbell, and I'm the Executive Director of Arcade Street Mission and the project lead for the WISH Coalition, the Winter Interim Solution to Homelessness pop-up shelters. I'm really pleased to be part of the ARC community. I'm a new Executive Director here, starting this past May. In my career, I've been coming to this work from a social work perspective, and I've worked in all sorts of sectors, from child protection to employment to women's issues. Most recently, I was at London Middlesex Community Housing, and so I know very intimately the importance of shelter and housing to building a strong foundation for life, but also for community. And here at the Arcade Street Mission, one of our values is around building community and places for people to belong.
Everybody wants to belong,
yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter where you belong, but everybody wants to belong somewhere in life.
Yeah.
And I've always had an issue with, where do I belong, especially being adopted, never fitting in place.
What's been amazing is working with multiple organizations who all saw an incredible need for more sheltering, more space for the homeless this winter during COVID, where space was difficult to find. And through relationships, trust, a desire to see people survive this winter.
Trust is a big, big thing, and when you have lost it with people who are supposed to be protecting you, you kind of get into a shell. And so I went and stayed in barns. I've stayed in stairwells, friends' garages.
People think that homeless people are worthless, more like scum of the earth.
The greater good of our community, over 18 organizations came around the table and said, we can do better, we can do something more this winter. With the support of the City of London, we were able to open 2 pop-up shelters that are sheltering 60 of London's most difficult to house homeless folks. And I say most difficult to house not because they're hard people, but because their lives have been very difficult. People don't become homeless in a vacuum. It comes from somewhere, and it comes from a childhood of trauma. It comes from pains and mental health and physical health and emotional health issues.
I had some instances of trouble with adults when I finally ended up on the streets about the age of 13. Won't get totally into what it was, but it wasn't great anyways. Ended up with mental health and addiction issues, of course, being on the streets.
Ousted from my family, and my mom kicked me out, and I ended up homeless.
Every individual has a different story.
Yeah.
Nobody has one, we're all drug addicts and we're homeless because of that.
Yeah.
Or we've all had bad home lives and that's why we're homeless. Everybody's got a different story, and I'm a very strong believer that mental health and addictions go hand in hand.
The streets will just eat you alive, whether you want them to or not.
We have to look at our neighbors and our friends, the people around us, through the eyes that see hope. And hope is sometimes in the shape of housing.
It's very important that those people are not forgotten. They live under the bridges, they live in cardboard boxes, they're down by the river in tents, in sleeping bags.
For the Winter Interim Solution, it's less about programming in terms of addressing those issues directly. We're addressing them indirectly. So what we're finding is that we're stabilizing people by letting them be indoors. Just that process of not being up all night, to stay warm or alive, is allowing people to stabilize. We have the health bus from the London Intercommunity Health Centre and other partners coming on site every week. So people who have not had medical care for a long time are getting care for the first time on a regular weekly basis. And so this is helping to address some of those addiction issues, health issues, mental health issues that have been plaguing folks. And the longer they stay with us, we're seeing improvement. Not by program, but by choice, because people can make those choices when they're stably sheltered. And this is why I say hope is housing shape.
I could only wish that there had been an organization like this when I was younger and living on the streets. somebody who would have been able to point me in the right direction, whether it had been to a youth shelter organization at that time, whether it could have been with food or clothing, stuff like that.
Because the stigma has to change. I mean, for the most part, there's people that need the help, that don't know where to get it, that are confused, afraid, because I was all those feelings myself.
First, I want to say a big thank you to the City of London and to all Londoners who have been supporting this effort. You know, it has taken a village, a bunch of us, to, one, put the pressure on the system to do this effort, and then two, to make sure people have their comfort items and the care. Our community has stepped up in big ways to make sure that people have donated clothing, bedding, comfort items throughout the project. So a big thank you. And then the second thing is to say, together we can do better. Housing is a human right, and we need to keep pushing towards ensuring that there is home and support for every Londoner. Thank you.